And welcome. This is the abbreviated West Virginia University football podcast at earsports.com. I am Mike Casazza here to get you ready for another game with the Mountaineers. This time, home game Saturday, ESPN Plus, the Coal Rush. Weather's going to be great. Looks like a fun time in the parking lot. Hope you enjoy yourself. We've been down this road before, right? Let's not do that again. It's funny, what's past is prologue, right? I'm having fun right there, but the truth of the matter is, West Virginia has really changed since the last time it was at home. The season just different now. A lot of time has passed. The arrow is no longer pointing in the same direction. More losses, fewer explanations. And this is just in an entire season defined by change. You like some consistency. You like stability. And it's hard to find it. You got to look far, hard, wide, dig deep down inside, and I think you know what's the same. Yeah, it's a podcast about the Mountaineers. Three topics on the tip of our tongue. One starts with a W, one starts with a V, one starts with a U. Let's get to it. The W today stands for whoops. We are witnessing a very transparent performance by Rich Rodriguez. 1 week, it's not just, hey, we need more money. It's, you know what, it'd be great if we had $10 million on top of revenue sharing. Compelling. After games, maybe too frequently for your taste, you're getting definitive critiques of the offense, the defense, the special teams, and even the coaching. And just this week, we have seen and heard him fess up for some mistakes, bad evaluations on talent acquisition, bad decisions for who was on the field, who stayed in the field, who's on the sideline, and who stayed there. It's riveting and frankly refreshing. Not always like this when it comes to coaches, especially when they're in a foxhole, but it's also inevitable, I think, in this day and age. The pay for play has totally changed the game. The lens that you're looking through to watch the sport is not the same. You're very much judging coaches by who's in the rosters and who's on the field. Never mind how the players on the roster perform when they're on the field. A big part of being a coach, getting a job and keeping it, is about signing players and then developing and retaining them. Think about it before when you did hot boards for assistant coaches. I'm sure you did that, right? You would talk about where they've been and how their offense, their defense, their position has performed. Who have they had as all conference players? Who have they sent to the NFL? Well, now it's very much about what recruits can they bring with them? What players in the transfer portal can be part of this acquisition? So to hear Rodriguez say that there were missed evaluations as well as less cash than they needed when he was putting the roster together, well, that kind of gets your attention. That's a big whoops. And to hear a coach who's 2-5 with four straight losses, who's 0-4 in the Big 12, say that they have to make some lineup changes because they are not, in fact, insane. They're not going to do the same things over and over and over. That'll get your attention. I think if we pay close enough attention, we'll get to see who they're talking about here. But the other part, maybe the bigger part, is this whole hard edge mantra. Rodriguez has asked if it was maybe a mistake to talk so much about that particular element that's necessary in establishing a culture and all the defining qualities that come with it. When he really and truly knew it wasn't going to be there in year one, they had a pretty interesting explanation, and it was indeed a whoops. My expectation was I thought we could teach it better than we have. We have failed as coaches with that. The VT stands for void. Where have all the sacks gone for the Mountaineers? They got Eli Holstein on the ground 6 times in the backyard. Brawl, the Pitt quarterback, was shook deep into overtime even. When the celebration was over and everybody woke up the next morning, WVU, number 4 in the country in sacks per game. Would you believe they have not sacked a quarterback since then? 132 pass dropbacks. It's incredible. Opponents are way too comfortable on offense and especially in the pocket right now. And you're seeing that. Passes are having their way. High completion percentage, big gains deep down the field. Kind of target practice in some sense. See it, hit it. If you want it, you can have it. And defensive coordinator Zach Galley has pointed this out too. There's a patience involved, and it's not just in the pocket. Teams will go for it on 4th down against West Virginia. They're just not scared. That's not merely a 4th down problem. That's a 3rd down problem too. 3rd and 10, teams have a plan. They get it to 3rd and 3, or they convert 3rd and 10. They get from 3rd and 10 to 4th and 3. They get from 3rd and 10 to 1st down. Opponents have little concern about going for it on 4th down. 18 attempts in games against the FBS, which is not the worst in the country. It is number 121, but the teams that have seen more 4th down attempts, they're generally winners. Ohio State, Washington State, BYU, UNLV, SMU, Cincinnati, Utah, you get the idea. West Virginia has seen talented quarterbacks in a league full of talented quarterbacks for the most part. It's kind of what makes this scarcity of sacks so problematic. Well, here comes the best quarterback the Mountaineers have seen so far. It's Josh Hoover. You'll hear and read plenty about him this week. He's very good. Not easy to get in the ground either. Mobile enough, quick release, knows the offense. The key to this one, though, might not be scheming up one-on-ones for your defensive linemen against the offensive line or twisting and stunting to get into a gap. Might be stopping the run. TCU can really struggle to run the ball. Had some injuries, but had some performance problems too. In two losses, 47 carries, 82 yards. In 5 wins, 173 carries, 814 yards. So do the math for you. You're talking about 41 yards per game in losses, 164 in wins, about 1.5 yards per carry versus 4.5 yards per carry. Sacks would help. One dimensional makes it a little bit easier to pin your ears back and go after the quarterback. Finally, the U today stands for uniform, and not just because it's the coal rush. I'm not going to lie to you. Kind of liked it last year. Kind of excited about what they have in store for part two. West Virginia has been home in a while. A lot has changed, and not for the better. Let's be honest, the home crowd really doesn't have a whole lot to look forward to this year. Kind of feel like this has to be, well, lights out, let's say. But the uniform here today refers to the same question for another week. It is, of course, about quarterback. Sounds like Scotty Fox will be the pick again in this one. If that is true, it would be the first time that West Virginia has started the same quarterback in back-to-back weeks since the backyard brawl and the Big 12 opener against Kansas. That was, what's the guy's name again? Nico Marchio. Do get the sense, though, that it is going to be Scotty Fox because West Virginia has to and not necessarily because West Virginia wants to. No offense to the true freshman from Ohio. I'm from Ohio. I wouldn't do that. Friendly fire doesn't exist here. But Khalil Wilkins is, as we speak, questionable. We'll keep an eye on that condition. Rich Rodriguez's words on Tuesday made it seem like it'd be really difficult for Wilkins to practice enough this week to be reliable enough to play on Saturday. And most of the head coach's chatter was about Fox, what he'd done, what he can still do. But we just know West Virginia cannot start and finish the game with the same quarterback, which makes us think about Max Anderson, Scotty Keene, and Max Brown. I'm sorry, I cannot move off of Max Brown. He's played 3 snaps, I believe. He kind of hurt himself trying to make a play at the end of a lost game. That intrigues me, fighting to the finish. And it sounded like, well, heck, it looked like the people who were at the game that Brown maybe had a chance to get in last week and just didn't. Getting closer. It's the one we haven't seen a whole lot of yet. And who knows, the way things are going, he might be the last man standing before too long. One way to find out, keep all these tips in mind as you sit down to watch the Coal Rush, the Mountaineers, the Horned Frogs, Saturday night on ESPN+.